Hi everyone, welcome back to Unleash Your Creativity, a blending of The Artist's Way by Julie Cameron and Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg, PhD. I'm Yvonne Davis and this is David Steele from the Rocky Mountain Compassionate Communication Center Network, sorry. So we are here to start week 5. Which is called Recovering a Sense of Possibility. And in her book, Julie Cameron starts with limits. And basically, she talks about how we limit ourselves with our fear and scarcity thinking. So I'm sure we're all, kind of familiar with that.
I don't even know why we're doing this video. I mean, she already said everything there is to be said about it. I mean, what could we possibly contribute? Is it really worth the effort?
I don't know. Maybe, yeah, and I'm wondering if anyone would even bother to watch. So, what's the point? I don't know.
I know. Let's give up.
We could give up. We could.
Oh, even better yet, let's not start, because then we don't have to admit that we might end up giving up. And we won't be confronted with failure.
That's true. Yes. We just never start.
Don't start. Oh, but we feel safe because we did class 1. Week 1.
Oh, that's right.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so we can get started because we're safe.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Plus, there's something else, which is, with week 2, recovering a sense of identity. We took the locus of control back into ourselves. So, so we don't necessarily need to do something based on whether or not other people like it. We can just do it because we want to.
No, but do we have the power to do it? That's what I want to know.
All right.
Can we really do it?
Yes. Well, we said we were going to, so we better have integrity and we better go ahead and do it.
Oh, we did. We said we were going to do this, so I guess we got to do it. Okay. All right. What's the topic again?
Recovering a sense of possibility.
Oh.
Are you ready for that?
I don't know if that's possible. I'll give it a try.
Okay.
Okay. So, she talked about how we limit ourselves with our beliefs.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And you want me to talk?
Well, it sounded like you had some enthusiasm. Like there are lots of possible things you could say.
There are lots of possible things I could say. So let's start out with the adage that all things are possible. Okay. Or even what famous people, Bobby Kennedy comes to mind, but other people also could easily come to mind. So he said, people look at the world and say, why are things this way? And I dream about what could be and say, why not? Let's go for it. That's a paraphrase. But the thing about possibilities is they are not specific, like a request in NVC. They're not specific concrete events yet. There are potentials that might happen. Mm-hmm. And when we look at what's possible, there's so many things that are possible. And somehow, to get started, I remember when I was in English composition in school, the biggest thing I had to learn when you're going to write an essay, 500, 1,000-word essay, is the thesis of the essay, what you wanted to cover. The biggest thing for me was to make it small enough so that I could actually write about it, because I tended to go to these huge, grandiose things that would take volumes. And so when faced with all the possible things potentials that surround us, we have to have a mechanism to filter out extraneous stuff so we don't go on overload. And what does that filtering process for us is our beliefs. So based on our beliefs, we will eliminate or discount ideas without even really looking at them, without tasting them and listening to them and smelling them. We'll just discard it like, oh, that's a crazy idea. I'm not even going to consider that. Or just, have you ever, someone made a comment and you say, oh, that'll never happen. So that is the fundamental, having beliefs that just automatically discount possibilities, that kill a thought or an inspiration before it even has time to take root, is something we all do.
Mm-hmm. So as I was listening to you talking, I was wondering, now this might be a little like vulnerable, but I kind of want to ask this question. Is there any place in my life where you see me having core beliefs that limit me?
Yes.
Okay. Shall we say out loud for the audience what that is?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So a great example is I was just looking at your MailChimp and the stuff that, and you're sending out this MailChimp to generate some income by doing astrology readings, which is a benefit for you. You get nourishment in the form of payment for doing the astrology reading, and it's a benefit for the person that comes to you because they get the insight and inspiration. And so really it's a win-win. Mm-hmm. And right there in the email, there were in big, bold letters, links to, oh, check this out, YouTube video, which is free. And in teeny, tiny little letters, oh, sign up and get a reading from me. And I just thought that was really rather amazing. And to me, there was an implicit limitation there, like all this stuff that's for free and just me talking is like plastered across the page. But the part of me that's saying, hey, I'd like to make some money off this too, please, was just little bitty small, buried in paragraphs. So it didn't even stand out on the page.
Okay. Well, yeah.
So that's very concrete and specific.
Okay.
If you guys get the MailChimp email, if you're on Yvonne's email list, you won't know what I'm talking about because she will have totally changed it. I think, unless her core limiting belief actually has a tyrannical control over her life that sends her into a panic and an abysmal sense of helplessness, and she just gives up and says, I don't have time to work on this. Screw it. I'm just going to send it the way it is. It'll have to do. That's also a possibility.
Yeah. And, if it ends up being what I do, I still think that's okay.
There is no right or wrong.
Right.
We're just talking about limitation is great sometimes. Speed limits actually save lives. And sometimes it's good to just stop. But I think in the terms of what Julie Cameron was talking about, where you're doing a program where you really want to actualize your potential, what prevents you from actualizing that potential? What belief structures make you blind to possibilities or pass over possibilities when they present themselves? That keeps you small and timid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's
undeserving.
I think that's why even if it's not perfect, it's more important that I send the MailChimp newsletter than whether or not it's perfect.
So that's another, the perfect being the enemy of the productive. That's another core limiting belief. This is not good enough. Oh my God, I was talking to someone who was thinking about doing podcasts and they hadn't even really done one yet. And they were doing research in it. And they're like, oh, I don't want to be, I don't know, it's not like I'm trying to be another Oprah Winfrey. And I'm like, they're comparing themselves to Oprah Winfrey and they haven't done a single podcast. So we do that. They look like, oh, this person has done all this stuff and God, there's not even any room for me. You know, there are already lots of astrologers in the world, Yvonne. We don't need another astrologer.
Yeah. But we do need someone to serve McDonald's hamburgers, so that we can always have more people serving McDonald's hamburgers, but not so many astrologers.
Obesity rules. Oh.
Yes, but it's interesting how we do have these core beliefs, like, you know, like that, for example. Yeah.
Yes.
Or that we compare, like, for example, if you have a passion, you will put
Can we peach? If we compare, can we peach? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm not even sure what I said that brought up that joke. But anyway, so, yeah, there's this idea that we compare ourselves to people who are really super rich and famous, and that's the, like, standard that we set for ourselves, and that which doesn't make any sense either.
Right, or we demand a level of perfection from ourselves that is not humanly realizable, and since it's not perfect, we're going to go back to the beginning and rewrite it again. For the next 20 years.
Yeah, or just keep doing research.
Oh, okay. I was going to do some research, but the computer's in use, so I can't do any research. So I guess I'm in a mischievous mood. I am in a mischievous mood. Because one of the things that helps us get past a core limiting belief is play, because it awakens a sense of wonder and joy in living and the mechanics of how life works and the mechanics of making stuff happen, and induce in us a joyful rapture so that we forget to be limiting.
Yeah. Well, I sure wish I knew, you know, like, I think that certainly in this video, we've done a good job of talking about some of the things that limit people, like fear and scarcity and perfectionism and core limiting beliefs and things like that, and just not doing it at all, because, you know, it's much, much safer to keep taking workshops and to keep reading books and continue to do research on the internet, and you know, see if there's anything else we need to know before we dare to take that first step. Yeah,
it reminds me of the story about the guy who was going to procrastinate and he never quite got around to it.
But what else?
I drew a blank. I was going to say something, and then my own joke waylaid me. So, I know what I was going to say. So, a core limiting belief is a neurological phenomenon. It's not just a voice in our head. And people who have studied brain and the nervous system knows that sometimes a limitation manifests as a voice in our head that creates a constriction in our chest, or a distraction in our action. A distraction in our action. I was talking to someone the other day, and they were saying, you know, it's clear what this person needs. You know, they just need to sit down and do it. And then they had a task that they were was important to them around career. And then they just kind of got up and left the room. And then, like, the next day, I just did the same thing. I was going to work on this task. And then I just went and did something else and didn't even realize it. So it lives in our action. It lives in our bodies. It's not just a construct in our head. If it was only a construct in our head, it wouldn't have impact. So body awareness really helps. Practicing body awareness really helps.
Yeah.
And also acknowledging what is. So if I've got this core limiting belief, to pretend it's not there enables it to continue having power over me. Because we can't change what we can't name, really. Another way to say it is a slave that doesn't realize they're enslaved is a slave indeed. So if we're imprisoned by core limiting beliefs and we try to pretend we're not there, that we're not enslaved by them, that we're not limited by them, then we're not going to be transcending them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or transforming them.
Right. And a lot of times I notice defensiveness can be a clue that we've touched on something really sensitive. So, like, for example, when I asked you that question and you talked about the size of the text, that the free stuff was huge, and the requests were, if you want to do a reading, it's really small. And when I heard you talking about that, like, I was watching what was going on inside my mind, and I thought, first I did see a little bit of defensiveness coming up. Not that I thought, it's perfect the way it is. No, it wasn't like that. It was more like, well, we already talked about this. Why is he bringing it up again? That kind of thing. Right. And then, it's just like watching my own mind thinking about it in terms of, what's the big deal, and, stuff like that.
Well, we brought it up again because you asked me to, because you wanted an example. I'm sorry.
No, I don't mean that kind of defensiveness.
Oh, you don't mean that kind of defensiveness? No. Well, what kind of defensiveness do you mean? I mean, defensiveness is defensiveness. God. Okay, I'll just shut up and let you talk.
No, I mean, because you brought up something that might be sensitive or vulnerable for me.
Right.
So if I get defensive about that, then that's a clue. This really is an issue. So, so I was just watching what was happening.
Right. So you noticed that your defensiveness meant that there was some life there, that somehow it struck a chord.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. And so I just watched that. And then I thought, because I noticed that coming up in me, even though I didn't feel like I needed to act on it, I didn't actually need to say anything about it, but just watching it come up, then I knew, I'm like, maybe there really is something to this, because if I'm getting defensive about it, even in my own mind, then I know that it's touched a chord. Right. Because if it hadn't touched a chord, I was just like, whatever,
So this ties back to why the unit on integrity preceded the unit on possibilities, because without integrity, without being able to honestly acknowledge what's going on in us, then we remain blind to these kind of patterns, and they continue to imprison us.
Yeah, and I think partly the reason why I mentioned that issue around defensiveness is because often that's what's going to happen when you start to get really close to something that's tender, something, like one of those limitations, one of those core beliefs. If you start to get close to it, what's going to happen is all of a sudden you're going to start getting angry and defensive, like, this is not an issue. Why are they talking about this?
Well, and that's kind of like distraction. So when you practice meditating, they teach you to meditate, and it's like, oh, your mind wanders off. When your mind wanders off, you just, my mind wandered off. I'm going to come back to meditating. Same thing. Core limiting belief, you get close to something, you're becoming defensive, or you become distracted. Oh, I became distracted. Just come back to it. Oh, I became distracted again. It's exactly really the same as meditation, how you work with it. Yeah. To just kind of cultivate your awareness.
Yeah. And so I think that also brings us back to the idea of self-empathy, because if you see yourself like getting defensive about something or distracted or whatever it is, those cats.
Oh man, where I don't see my coffee. I don't have a cup of coffee. I don't have a cup of. I didn't bring any coffee. I usually take a sip of coffee.
That's one of those cats,
What?
Those clever avoidance tactics.
You want to play clever avoidance tactics?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when
Make sure to get number W9 forms from them.
Okay. So when you see those kinds of things happening, either you're getting angry, you're getting defensive, you're getting distracted, anything that takes you away and says, no, this is not real, I don't need to look at this, that usually indicates that, yeah, there's something real there. So then we do self-empathy. We just say, oh, okay, I see that just happened. I'm just noticing it. I noticed that there was something important I wanted to do. And I even told someone, hey, this is really important to me. And then I left, just walked out the door, completely forgot about it, and only realized the next day. Right. So anything like that, that's the observation. And then, if there's some feelings coming up, because sometimes, could be fear, could be anger, could be frustration, could be shame, embarrassment, anything that comes up that feels uncomfortable, just notice that, oh, there's that anger, there's that defensiveness, there's that shame, I'm not good enough, all the voices, all that stuff that comes up, and just being with it. That's the,
well, or you can go to war with yourself. That's the alternative.
Yeah, but
if you want to go to war with yourself, stop taking this class now.
Yeah, because if you want to integrate, if you come up against any blocks or obstacles and you want to transcend them, or what we say is we integrate them, because you can't actually get rid of anything. You just integrate it in such a way that the different parts of yourself learn to work together.
Right.
And so then you're not, instead of all the energy going toward this or toward this or just whatever,
right.
The energy blends and works together. So that's integration. So yeah, if that's what you're wanting, integration, then really the only option is to honestly observe the self and accept yourself. And the change actually takes care of itself. There's something about when you fully accept yourself and that part of yourself feels accepted and embraced and seen and heard, then that part wants to open up and communicate. And it's the communication between the different parts that creates the integration, so that the different parts work together. So that's why we're always talking this way. If for some people that probably doesn't make sense, because in so many different schools of thought, even New
right.
Age and positive thinking are often so focused on getting out of anything uncomfortable, as if we're only allowed to feel good all the time, to be happy, to feel strong, to feel confident, and it's just not realistic.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, our intense propensity for avoiding pain has resulted in an opium epidemic in this country. And because, got to stop any pain, all pain. And that's a core limiting belief.
Yeah.
Any discomfort, sometimes discomfort is indicative of a deeper unfolding, like a shoot breaking the shell of a husk in a seed, or pushing its way through the earth so that it can reach the sun. And sometimes there's definite discomfort in that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and there's discomfort when we see, when we come face to face with things that are triggering, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's also excitement and exhilaration. If we're in integrity. I'm kind of feeling complete because I'm trying to not make 50-minute or 40-minute videos.
Okay. See, that triggers me too.
Does it?
Yeah.
Is there more you wanted to say?
Yeah, actually, because since you were bringing something to my awareness, is it okay if I bring something to your awareness?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was actually thinking about this along the same lines when I asked you to bring something to my awareness. That one of the things I noticed about you is, and this comes from a core belief that you have to do everything, that there won't be help, You've shared that with me before.
Right.
That's a core belief of yours.
Okay.
Yeah, that you have
Right.
to do everything.
Yeah, it's all on me.
Yeah. So there's a behavior that goes along with that, which is making sure that other people do their job properly. And
I don't know if I would have ever cognized it that way, but anyhow, go ahead.
Yeah. So I just thought it was a good opportunity to bring that up. One, because it triggers me, and two, because we were talking about it. So.
Okay, I can see that.
Okay.
I can see that.
Okay, and that's how David and I do NVC. One of the ways. So
I can be overbearing that way, actually.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. But that's the nice thing about NVC is that it gives us the tools to be able to express. Like, I don't have to just go and seethe and, feel resentment and have a story in my head. I used to do that. That wasted so much energy. It's so much nicer.
Use a lot of energy.
Yeah.
A lot of energy.
It's so much nicer to just be able to share that, and now it's like done.
Yep. Cool.
Cool.
All right.
Alrighty. So yes, we are bringing this to a close today, and that means I'm going to give my little spiel, which is please subscribe to this channel, click like on this video, add your comments in the box below, share with your social media and friends and family, and ring the bell for notifications, because we were all creating a community together. So we will see you tomorrow when we continue week 5, which is on recovering a sense of possibility. And I look forward to seeing you. Bye-bye.